Welcome to Real Estate Success Partner. I'm your host, David Wynn, with Clint Ritchie. We got a special guest today from Arizona. I'll let Clint introduce him since he's your guest. Clint, who do we got here?
Thanks, Dave. So we have Shawn Rogers, a.k.a. Mr. Rogers, which that's his tagline, and he's made a tremendous success using that, and he's one of the broker owners in Arizona, and he's got a big team, and so I'm glad to bring him on because, first of all, he's a Buffalo Bills fan, so we got to give him his props on that, and then more importantly, he's very dynamic in regards to marketing and advertising, and so he's going to have some great things for our audience. So glad to have. So welcome, Shawn. Glad you made it. So real quick, so we've talked.
Thank you, gentlemen. Honored to be here.
Yeah, good. Appreciate your time. So we talked about this a couple of times previously. Tell us a little bit about your story and where you are in your real estate career as of right now.
Well, I won't bore you with the War and Peace version. I'll just head right to the cliff notes. I've been in and around real estate since I've been 17, and I'll be 56 this July. Moved out here to the Valley of the Sun in, I think, 2003, 2004. I was just going to dabble in the real estate, maybe buy a property here or there. And now fast forward 20 years later, I, with God's help and the team's help and family's help and beautiful help like yours, I'm running one of the top teams in Arizona at one of the top firms, West USA, for probably on and or off 10 plus years. So.
Awesome. So talk about you talk about your team. So talk about how big your team is and how you and how you established the team and over what time period it took you to get where you are right now.
Great question. I originally started with one partner, and really the funny part is life just has a way of leading you in a direction. You could take it or not. It's an opportunity or not. I'm one of those guys that doesn't have a reverse. I'm just full nitro forward. So what was happening is as you do, I guess, a better job and you take care of your clients first, which sounds cliche, but it's you get when you give, and that's one of my firm beliefs. I started getting clients further away from what you would call the hub. And of course you want the business, but there does come a level of time where you probably can't give a client everything if you're dividing yourself too many times. So I formed the team and I started looking for agents that might have been missing a component that I needed.
Cool.
So, Shawn, are you are you out there still selling and slinging, or are you on the background now?
Great question. I personally haven't unlocked a door in over a decade, but that doesn't mean, and I only laugh at it, that doesn't mean I wouldn't stand on the corner with a flip sign saying open house in 110 degrees if you wanted me to. That's, everything that I've ever asked anybody to do, I've done, and I still do it. Open houses, passing out cards. But to answer your most excellent question, I'm usually behind that computer with the phone on 18 plus or minus hours a day every day.
Great. So let's talk about your market. What part of Arizona are you in?
I say we're in the Phoenix metro, but we do cover what would be known as the Southeast Valley.
Okay.
Phoenix and the West Valley. Now, also, I don't know how it is where you are, but here we're licensed in all of Arizona, and we do have agents that would cover south, which would be Tucson, and then north, which would be Flagstaff, Show Low, Pine Top, where the snow is, believe it or not, the pine trees and log cabins. But that's more of a case-by-case basis just because of, again, the distance from the hub.
Yeah, so the market's hot there. If you look around, real estate market's super hot in Phoenix. You guys got a lot of Californians coming out there right now.
We do, and I follow the numbers the best I can, and I know you guys are doing pretty great as well, your location, but everybody likes the sunshine, and I reference back to Buffalo. I'm still a diehard, Buffalonian at heart. However, I married into the Chicago, so I'm also have to root for the Bears every now and then. And I live in Arizona, so I back them when I can. But my point to that story is Arizona has a lot of people moving here from a lot of different places. And you notice that, or you see that when you go to a lot of sporting events. I've been to a lot of stadiums, and you don't, for example, in Buffalo or Chicago, you don't see that many other team fans there. But in Arizona, it's usually 50-50, if not worse, for the Cardinals. So.
There you go. So talk about the real estate market in Arizona. Are you running into some of the similar issues that agents across, in other parts of the country are, where you're having a big supply demand issue, and people are having to put in multiple offers because they can't win bids because there's just too much demand and not enough supply? Are you running into the same type of issues in the Phoenix, Arizona area?
Great question. I'm not running so. If I broke it down by the numbers, it wouldn't be primarily that as the main concern. Inventory, and I'm a numbers guy, so inventory I like to see somewhere between 2 and 4 months. Ironically, I think we're at like 2.95 for the last 3 or 4 months. So inventory's there. However, there are other outside factors that are affecting certain areas and properties that would cause your question to be in effect. The popular areas, if I can use that term, and the 80-20 rule would definitely, you better be on your game to get your offer in and accepted, because that property will move pretty quick. But outside that scope, I think a lot of people have other reasons for maybe being on the fence right now.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of those other reasons, because we've touched on this in our little pre-podcast call. What do you think are the biggest holdups that you're seeing with buyers in your area that are causing them to hit the pause button per se in buying houses?
If we're not talking about flat out relocation where they're moving here from somewhere else and they don't know the area, which is understandable, they want to get to know the feel of the land. If it's just flat out why they're probably not pulling the proverbial trigger, right now I'd have to say it's interest rates and inflation, the economy. And I don't want to per se get political per se, but I think we need change we need relief, and I think that would put people in a better position to swallow down the actual costs and encompassing factors of buying a property. And I try not to stumble over those words, but buying a property is one thing, a cost is another. But if you are hypothetically a first-time home buyer, you also have to understand that you might not be living with mom anymore, electricity bills, maintenance. There's a lot of other things that go in with purchasing a house. So one thing you definitely want not to have is stress over a payment.
Right. Makes perfect sense. So talk about this. So, we've talked about, your kind of career path and how you are where you are. So if you were talking to, like, if a new agent was coming into, real estate in this market, what are the 2 or 3 hot buttons, in your opinion, that would be most important for them to focus on to be successful and try to be like Mr. Rogers?
Another great question. It's funny, and I'm not the best looking guy. I'm not the smartest guy. I'd like to think I know about real estate, but I can tell you, you get when you give. And if you understand, first off, you need to know your trade. If you pass the test, that's one thing, but understanding real estate, or in your case, being lending professionals, you need to know what you're talking about. The dog wags the tail. So when agents come to me and say, how do I get business? Well, there's twofold. One, speed to lead. If you're, working leads, if it isn't your best friend calling you to purchase a property. So first off, you have to get in the game. Then when you're in the game, you need to know what they're asking you and how to answer it properly. For me, it's like breathing, but I dial it down, way down, for people that might be, again, first-time buyers. And then there's a different game plan if you're an investor, or perhaps you've purchased properties and you're downsizing because you're in that stage of your life. So to answer your question, I just almost beg agents to have compassion, listen to what the clients needs, take your notes, formulate a solid game plan, and put that into effect, putting your personal beliefs aside and just helping them with your professional abilities, tools, and skill sets.
I love it. Well, hey, Shawn, man, we're coming off of the worst 18 months in real estate. They say in 30 years. There's, some economists say 2023 was worse than 2008, which we all know what happened in 2008. We see a lot of,
Yes, we do.
when I say compression, there's a lot of loan officers that are no longer in the business. There's a lot of real estate agents that are no longer in business. You guys on your end are dealing with NAR right now. What do you do with once that finally goes all the way through? What's going to happen there? With that being said, with us doing these podcasts, one of the things we see all the time is there's people that are having tremendous success and there's people that are not having success at all. And these are 10, 15, 20-year vets that are having terrible success. And then you have these newbies that are less than 5 years that are having the best years of their lives. Let's talk about that. Explain that. What you've seen the market ups and downs since you've been in here. What do you see? I mean, I know we're coming out of it. I know since 2024, everything's up. Inventory's up, purchase transactions up. Everything's pointing towards it's up almost 20 or 30% in some areas.
Yeah, and that's a lot of great information and coverage there. And if you're a newer agent, I guess I do start out by saying, like life in oceans, real estate has its ebbs and flows. So you're not going to just always have a perfect, smooth sail across your career. And as the saying goes, a smooth sea never created a skilled sailor. So if we're going to stick with the ebbs and flows theory of it, if you're in this business, you're going to have to understand sometimes there's changes. If you're a seasoned agent, nobody likes to get hit and by different outside influences or effects, which is what we're going through now, be it, again, interest rates on a side note or the economy on the side note. But answer your question, what I consider a big shakeup will be if, in fact, the NAR settlement does go through, answering your question. If it does, then those agents, I guess the best advice I can give would be that they just need to adjust, persevere, and overcome the issue. And if I was going to dive in a little bit on that, and I'll make it as quick as possible, the rule, I don't know what you might call them in where you are in Texas, but here, the BBA, buyer broker agreement, that's been a form since Hector was a pup. It's not a new form.
Right.
It's something that probably, and again, I'm just saying in general, agents may not have used initially. I don't know that you'd want to put an engagement ring on your significant other's finger before you had the first date. So I get that theory. You want to, you build that relationship. But that being said, I think it's an opportunity now to shine for agents representing buyers. Say, this is why you need my support. I always joke around and say this, look, I could take a swig of whiskey, grab a pair of pliers, and pull my own tooth, but I'm going to the dentist. So if you want representation by a professional on either and or both sides of a transaction, particularly real estate, you should do your due diligence as a consumer and find who the best fit for you is. And if you do that properly, it's not how do we get them to sign. You're telling them, hey, I'm busy and I hope I can fit you in.
Yeah. So, it's interesting we're talking about that. So about the NAR agreement, I've talked to a couple of professionals, plug my dad being one of them, who's been in real estate since 1978 and actually still teaches, real estate classes and stuff like that. He said it's basically going to weed out the less professional real estate agents and the true professionals, because like you said, the BBA agreement's been there the whole time, but, a lot of the real estate professionals just kind of glossed over it or didn't actually go through it with line by line so that the clients knew exactly what they were getting. And like you just said, it's like you're going to have to be more professional. You're going to have to explain it to the client and help them understand, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we're going to try to get the seller to, cover my fee. But however, if they don't cover this fee or if they don't want to, that you are ultimately responsible for it. And here's why you need my my professional, support in buying this this house, because quite honestly, there's a listing agent and they're going to represent the best interest of their client. You need someone representing the best interest of you. So I think it's awesome that you brought that up, and I think in anything in life, like you said, there's ebbs and flows, and I think it's going to as they always say, the cream's going to rise to the top, right? The professional real estate agents that have been doing it for years, that go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, they're going to be fine. The ones that kind of, glossed over it and just were trying to, not build the quote-unquote relationship, they're more of a transactional type realtor. Those are the ones that are going to really struggle. Does that sound right to you? Is that in your professional opinion?
I think you're spot on, and thanks for a more in-depth definition of exactly what I say. And I'm, again, you and I aren't paid endorsers here. We're just I'm humbly saying we're trying to help people. And yes, and if I had to be a little bit more savage but still being calm, playing the middle there per se, there's really nothing wrong with the thinning of the herd. I mean, if you better your profession, you get better at what you do. There's nothing another person couldn't do that the other person couldn't do. So I'm a big believer in helping people out, knowing my trade still after all these years, reading books, reading, new forms, seeing how you can, quote, better your systems, because ultimately it's referrals. And if you take care of somebody, it's unequivocally, it's not even a question, they're going to refer you. That's the best form of advertising. But that all circles back to what you just said. You need to know what you're doing. If you don't, maybe this business or the profession you're in isn't for everybody. I mean, I think a lot of people want to be professional boxers until they get, hit in the head.
It's like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
That's exactly it, and you can pick any sport. It's great to make fun of a goaltender who can't save, a puck, but many people that are watching and saying that, can't skate. So
Well, go ahead. You get something to?
No, I was going to say that.
Oh, so let's talk about this, because this is one of the questions that we like to ask our realtors. So you've been in the business a long time. You've helped a lot of people that have bought and sold houses. You've helped a lot of people within the real estate industry kind of find success or identify what their weaknesses are. Talk about your greatest or your happiest moment, or the thing that makes you the proudest of being a real estate agent in your career.
That's a great question, and I don't want to bring a tear to my eye, but I still think and my mom's still with me, so I want to put that out there, and love my mom, love my family, love the Lord, everything. So I don't want, that's not so much a plug for anybody per se, but to answer your question, I try to go through every transaction as if my mom is in the passenger seat with me or in the office with me, would I do this for my mom or somebody that I ultimately love? Would I give them the care and treatment that I would my mom? And if people understood what that meant, I mean, if again, I don't want to get that way, but if you care about a person, you want the best for them. If you want the best for them and you give them all you know in what our profession, then it's pretty easy. And I don't want to say that our professions are easy. I'm saying taking care of people, being kind, and it should. In this business, it helps tremendously. And I didn't want to go the soft on you, if that made sense, because the flip side of it is you need to know the rules and regulations. You need to know, what the ADR is. You need to know what spuds are, clues, binzers. You need to know the terms. You need to know the paperwork. You need to know negotiations. And you also need the contacts, the great lenders like you guys. You need the great, home inspectors, pool cleaners. You need everything. Landscapers. You need to know how and where they might choose to go for dinner. Those are all important things when people are deciding to pull the trigger on. The mean average right now is, I think, $608,000 here. So when you're spending that kind of money, cash or loan, you want to make sure that you're happy with the house and everything that surrounds it. But at its core, just take care of people.
That's great advice. Dave and I talk about this all the time. It's like, you want to be like-minded and like-hearted, and at the end of the day, the realtors that we've run across, or I guess you could say this for any profession, Dave, right, is the people that build relationships because they really truly have a heart of just helping people. You're like the go-to person. So like when they have, like you say, that you got a question, hey, do you got a good pool guy? Do you have a, and like, some of the realtors that we've done podcasts with that have had, excellent careers, is they become really good friends with their clients. even after the transaction, and they're like their point of reference, like you said, when they need a pool guy, when they need a good yard guy, when they need where's the best place to eat, where's the best place to play golf, right? And you just continue to give, and it's not, you don't even expect anything of it, you just like helping people. So I think that's a wonderful quality, and I'm glad you brought that up. So Dave, what you get anything else from Mr. Rogers?
I do. We see the professional Mr. Rogers. Let's get into the personal Mr. Rogers. Is there a spouse, kids? What's that family life look like?
I have, another great question. I always joke and say I have two bosses, the vice president of the firm and my wife, and it's the same person. So we have no children. We have a pug, a female pug, and she is also on the board. So I typically get voted 2-1, and so I've learned just to go along with the game plan that they have decided to go with. But ultimately, and I have a lot of good friends and family. But another thing I was going to say, kind of to that question. If a person in any profession doesn't like it, and I understand money's important, a payday's important, providing for yourself and or your loved ones is important, but if it's work, sometimes it's a grind. You can't cheat the grind. You have to do the work. But if you love what you do, and I do, and I'm trying to answer your question in another way, when people say, what are your hobbies, what are your sports, I'm doing it right now. It's not so much work for me. Like I said, there was a point in my life where I had to make sure the bills were paid, or they'd repo the car or whatever it might be, or the landlord would kick you out. But God willing, and with my hard work and support, that's not the case anymore. To answer your question, I do what I love, and I don't ever see myself retiring. So that was what I was leading up to. I love what I do, and I don't consider it work. There's times where you want to, punch the wall, and there's times where you want to, again, just take a time out. But ultimately, that's my life in a general. Real estate, friends, and family. And I try to hit the gym because the pounds are starting to add up. So, by the way, the camera adds, I think, 20 pounds, so you should know that I'm not this heavy.
Well, before we let you go, because we can sit there and talk to you all day, let's get personal.
Yeah.
What are those Buffalo Bills going to do this year? Are they going to get better? They lost a lot of players.
The funny part is, and I'm a Bills fan, but I'm also a realist. So I say it like this. Every year, I've been a Bills fan forever, so there's not much laugh out loud. Someone's going to hurt my feelings when I lived through the gym, the great 4 years, in my opinion. Yeah, we lost 4 in a row, but there's not much worse, if you want to word it that way, that you could throw at a Bills fan because we went to 4 and lost 4. But to answer your question this year, every year I think we're going to be a contender. I just don't know, and this is, again, from my heart, I just don't know they're ever going to be able to just get over the hump. And I don't know if it's actually talent-wise, or if it's just, or dollars driven to a certain team-wise. I just don't know that.
Patrick Mahomes, doesn't it?
Yeah, the funny part is, and I have nothing against the Chiefs, but on the flip side, again, this is just me saying it. I know I'll probably get maybe a lot of likes or hates on it. I personally think Josh Allen is just a better quarterback than him, flat out. But you have to understand, they've never been on, and I just say this in general, they're great quarterbacks. I'm not saying bad about anybody, but just you and I talking, or, I guess the world hearing it. But Josh Allen has never been, he's offense, as is Patrick Mahomes. So the defense is where I think we lost. Josh Allen wasn't on the field when we lost, even when they go back to that 13 seconds. I can only imagine Josh Allen being on the sidelines or the whole offense saying, if you could have stopped him, we were there. Just like last year, Josh didn't miss the field goal. Of course, you could say, why'd you put your kicker in that position? You should have routed him. But the Chiefs are great. I'm not putting them down. Yeah. So, we got to get past them. But I think it's a mindset. You just have to go out there and know you can win, and that's it. That's my opinion.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, we can sit here and talk to you all day, Shawn, but, at a certain point, we got to go. So if the people out there want to find you, how do they find you?
I've had the same website forever. It's www.Mr. spelled out MISTER Rogers ROGERS Homes HOMES.com. Mr. Rogers Homes. And if I was allowed to say a little bit else, that's our YouTube channels, Mr. Rogers Homes. That's my email, Mr. Rogers Homes. That's my Facebook page, Mr. Rogers Homes. So that's how we just started our own app. We're on Apple and the Play Store and Google, Mr. Rogers Homes. So it's kind of hard, and I say that nicely not to be able to find Mr. Rogers homes almost everywhere.
I love it. And you can, those that are watching, you can see that in the lower thirds down there. Clint, what about you? How do people out there find you?
Good, thanks, Dave. So my website is therichiemortgageteam.com. That's THERICHEY mortgageteam.com. Or you can always reach me at my new team's work number, which is 972-656-0719, 972-656-0719. And we'd love to, talk to you and help you get, a clear mortgage plan in place. And then we can get some folks out to Mr. Rogers in Arizona, and we can live the lifestyle in the Valley of the Sun, right?
That's right.
Hey, Clint, I don't know if it's out of line, but would I be allowed to ask you, because you're one of the best lenders out there and your family is surrounded by great agents, do you see much in the way of relief when it comes to strictly interest rates in the near future? And what does that look like overall for buyers and for sellers? A lot of sellers aren't going to list their properties if they know buyers aren't going to, pull the trigger.
Yeah, well, this it's a great, I could talk about this for another 20 minutes, but, we actually, Dave just got back from a conference in Florida, and one of the bankers was talking about that we're going to see relief we thought we'd see relief by the end of 2024, but now it looks like it's going to be towards 2025. Dave, why don't you elaborate on what they told you exactly? Because
so there's a lot of economics in here that's more than just relief from the feds and inflation and stuff like that. There's, with the compression the way they are, what people don't understand is there's a lot of commercial loans that have to be refinanced this year. Guess what? They can't refinance at the high interest rates they are, because that's going to break the bank. And not only will it break the bank in terms of the commercial lending, but if the banks have to vote, it closes up those banks also. In fact, I talked to a realtor earlier this morning, and guess what he represents? The institutions. We've all heard that institutions out there are buying single-family homes out there, right? Well, same thing. These institutions, what they do is they pay cash for them, and then they bundle up and then get a loan behind it. They can't go out and get those loans at these high interest rates, so they're having this. So they're saying possibly as early as July. But who knows? I think we all watch the feds and think what's going to happen, but who knows? It is an election year, so if I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, Shawn.
Amen, brother. You and me both. And like I said, whatever it is, I know we got to get going and wrap it up. But if you still take care of the client, you on the lending end and me on the real estate end, you can get through a lot of things. And I think when people crunch the numbers, ultimately they'll see what the best, pardon the pun, move is for them. And if it fits, we help them. If it doesn't, then we wish them all the best. It's not. I'm not putting a stranglehold on anybody to make any moves. I just wish people the best in what they want to do. Secret formula. Along with answer your phone. So.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it, Shawn. We're your real estate success partner. See you later. All right, man. That's it. So, Shawn, look at the camera, and then do your elevator pitch. This is going to be what we sent out to you.
And I'm sorry, before you recorded, what did you want me to say again on the elevator pitch?
This is just going to be your 1 minute, 30 seconds, whatever. Hi, I'm Shawn Rogers. I own X amount. We would love to help anybody out there. If you're looking to recruit realtors, also say that in your thing. It's a great way to market yourself.
Yeah. Basically, your little sales pitch of why people should use you or come work for you or whatever you.
Yeah. So if you
however you want to market yourself.
However you want to market yourself, because we're just gonna. That's gonna be one of your zingers that we're gonna be able to send to you. So
good to go whenever I want.
Hey, just start talking.